Dee-dee-dee. There's the beat. Come on, Maddie. Get into the beat. Kylie's feeling it.
What's up, you guys, and welcome back to the studio. At the time this episode releases, y'all will be in the thick of preparing for Thanksgiving, which as parents or even young adults, it's certainly no easy feat. But as a student, I know you're absolutely loving every single minute you have from your time off from school. So with that being said, I truly hope that today's episode just helps to serve to encourage you and bring you a reminder as to how you can best be connecting with your loved ones this holiday season and serving those within your community. I figured what better way to learn how to do so than to have our Richmond Rosenberg Connect pastor on to help guide that conversation. So welcome to the studio, Pastor
What's
Mike.
up?
If y'all couldn't already hear him on the mic, giving us a little beat drop and
Dude, I was feeling it. You know what I'm saying?
like the little crossing guard in your head's feeling it.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. But he's off duty now. 3 o'clock. He's done. He said no more traffic.
When does he come on duty?
Probably like 6:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock. He says, time to get up. Let's get it going. He's like my filter. You know what I'm saying?
Is he like going for dinner afterwards, or
No, my man just goes to bed.
He doesn't take a train
So after
anywhere?
3 o'clock, I'll be real cautious about like what comes out. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Because you're gonna get ADD, Mike. My wife is just tolerant of it, so
She has her own crossing guard.
Yeah, or she got her crossing guard's like on duty all the time. It's awesome.
She's got a million crossing guards as a woman. Okay. Would you say that you have ADHD or
I would say that the actual diagnosis when I was a kid was ADD, but
really?
I know.
What's the difference?
One's involving hyperactivity, so I think they misdiagnosed me because I'm pretty hyper dude.
Maybe you have both.
Maybe, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I was diagnosed when I was young. Like, I went through all the testing and everything.
I feel like every time I go get diagnosed with something, they always re-diagnose me with something else.
No. Yeah, but, like, I genuinely, like, got diagnosed, and then I just controlled it by diet and exercise. Like, my stepmom was an educator, and she was like, no, we ain't doing this. Like, you're just going to control it, diet and exercise. And it helps.
Is that how you got started into exercising?
Yeah.
Are you doing the 5K with me and Abe?
No, I'm doing a Spartan Super in October. Spartan race?
I'm jealous. The little, like, mud ones?
Yeah, and, like, Spartans come out and try to kill you, and you, like, keep running. Yeah.
I didn't.
You run for your life, and you jump over fire.
Wait, actually?
Yeah, and you throw, like, spears into hay bales.
I was thinking of a mud run, I think.
No,
then.
that's a Tough Mudder.
What?
Yeah.
Where's that at?
Gonna be back in Nashville. I'm running with a team, so I need to get my rear in shape. It's, you know.
When did you start training for it?
Now?
That tracks.
Yeah. So no, I'm usually pretty good. Like I was at Camp Choye this weekend on a middle school retreat, and I went through their mud course twice. That started my training this weekend.
Oh, I'm kind of jealous now.
You should be, but don't be jealous when I'm on the ground dying.
Well, no.
So it's a 10K with like 26 plus obstacles.
But do people actually like chase after you?
No.
I was like, that's so cool. That's like a live action. Like, now I know why it's in October because it's like Halloween inspired.
No, it's legit. Like, there's Spartans there. Like, dudes dress up as Spartans, but
Do they
like
have turkey legs.
The Spartan sprint I did when I was in college didn't. Maybe they upped their game. Like, this was like 15, 20 years later, so I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now my crossing guard's off duty.
Yeah, see, like, we didn't even get into, like, who I am. Like,
Okay, let me ask you this question, though. Do you remember? Okay, for those of you guys that don't know Pastor Mike, when I first started at Sugar Creek, was a youth minister or a youth pastor. And so I got to see and got to know Pastor Mike as Youth Pastor Mike at Missouri City. So, Pastor Mike, do you remember at Forest Glen, I think it was?
Base camp, yeah.
Or no, it wasn't base camp. It was another camp. You woke up at like 2 or 3 in the morning and took a bunch of people on a run.
No, so that was my first actual big event beyond Halloween. Like, we did the weekend, and it was with our high schoolers.
Oh, that was the first
and
weekend.
It was the first weekend that, in COVID, mind you, and it was cold, that I woke up real early. I got them all up. Those jokers, they didn't take me serious, and I was like, listen, I don't mind y'all having fun, but y'all get a little too rowdy, and we gonna have some serious business. And sure enough, I had myself and Eric Fuentes. He had a bullhorn, and we woke those jokers up. And then I made him run 7 miles. I was actually retelling the story at Camp Choye because it was at Camp Choye. And I remember the hill. I remember one of the students, I don't want to mention his name. You know, he's graduated, gone on, doing great things. But this cat about broke down on me because we were in a 5-6 mile run. He was like, and we were hitting the hill marker. And he was like, whoa, I gotta run. And I was like, bro, I already told y'all, we're in this as a team. We're going to do this as a team. One acts up, you can hold him accountable. Like, we're all in this together. So I said, we're going to bond together. We're going to stay up late. We're going to do dumb stuff together. Guess what? We're going to run together.
That is insane. I'm not going to lie. That morning I woke up and heard that, and I was so jealous. I was like, they get to do that as punishment? I'd do that for fun.
Dude, it's probably just a military background, like not my military background.
Oh, I was like, you're in the military?
My dad.
What branch was he in?
Navy. But then I had a grandpa in the Army, had a grandpa in Coast Guard.
Yeah.
They were in all of it.
Yeah. All my uncles and my mom's dad were in the Navy, and then my brother was in the Marines and a cousin in the Army.
Yeah, I grew up in a military community as a military brat, so I'm used to all that stuff. So.
Okay, well,
all right.
Probably should not have started off on that note, but I thought it was a great conversation.
There you go.
Tell us a little bit about what you do as the Richmond Rosenberg Connect pastor.
Yeah, so obviously I used to be the student city. That's funny. The Missouri. I'm just going to combine them. Missouri. It used to be called Mo City, but Mo City student pastor, and we moved away. And now I'm back at the Richmond Rosenberg campus as the Connect pastor, and my job entitles a lot of things. So obviously the first thing in the title is Connect pastor. My job is connecting people to one another, so I'm over all of the Connect groups, the adult Connect groups. But then get to oversee the Next Step Center, guest ministries, help out oversee the facilities there, making sure things look good, look nice, just pretty much trying to make sure people feel like their experience at the Richmond Rosenberg campus is great and leads them to next steps, whether it's finding community, finding a relationship with Jesus, following in baptism, having prayer, all those things.
Are you the first person that they see when they walk through the doors?
I try to be. And so I've got some guest ministry people. And so, like, it's a little different at our campus because we got the front lobby and there's a little small back lobby. So, it'd be pretty crazy if I was, like, in both lobbies at the same time.
That's true. Fair enough.
Like Speedy Gonzalez, pow, 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 back and forth. You know what I'm saying?
Well, with all the running background that you have, I'm sure you could do it.
Yeah. So, but I do try to make my presence up front in that front lobby. That's where a lot of the traffic flow comes in.
Yeah.
So, just trying to create some energy, let people know, like, hey, it's going to be a great day. We in the house of the Lord. We here to worship, and we're excited that you're here. So welcome.
How do you feel like that impacts the ministry at Richmond Rosenberg, having you there to kind of encourage that?
Well, I will say, and this is just, I don't know if it's all on me, but there are people that have been at this campus for 4 years and have already established that, and there's been other ministries rolling, and great ministries happening. But I feel like what my role is to help enhance those ministries. And so if we can be the first impression, you like that? First impression? Call me the Grinch. Sorry, telling you, crossing guards off duty. But the first impression, if I can be the first impression and someone feels like, man, this is home, man, these people are just so inviting and welcoming, and I don't feel like a stranger. Well, it helps that family go, man, my kids can be safe in the student ministry. My kids can be safe in the kids ministry. These people truly welcome us and love us, and they're showing hospitality, and they're showing like, man, this is the place where we can come back to over and over again. So I feel like it's my job to help enhance those things. So if we can get it right up front, then I think it helps in the back.
Yeah, for sure. How do you show hospitality to them then?
I would say one, as far as hospitality goes, and this is just standard guest service stuff, right? Put a smile on your face. Nobody walks into a grocery store, Lowe's, wherever, Home Depot, and goes, man, I love being there because when I walked in, people just stared at me awkwardly, right? They have a smile. There's just genuine presence, and they're waving, and they're helping you find information out. They're helping escort you. They're making you feel like, hey, I know exactly where I need to go now because this person was so helpful. We provide a gift to them, it's first time gift, Now it'd be kind of cool if maybe churches handed out gifts to everybody that walked in the door, but that'd get really expensive.
I was about to say, that's a lot of budget.
That's a lot of budget. So, but you get a gift and you get a gift. Welcome to church.
You should have a t-shirt cannon.
Man, that'd be a really shallow practice, though, if we're real honest, right?
That's true.
Because people would just be showing up for a gift to church and not showing up for Jesus. So I don't want to rob Jesus of his glory. So
that's true.
So scratch that. You know what I'm saying?
So how do you find Jesus within the connecting with those people?
So I would say this. Obviously, it's how you carry yourself and having the conversations. You can have a lot of information to give people, but there's this old adage that says people don't care how much you know until, they know how much you care. And so if you actually show people you genuinely are interested in them and you care, right? Now, granted, obviously from this podcast, people will be like, man, this dude talks a lot. So I have to guard myself from not hogging the conversation.
Yeah.
So ask some very intentional questions that give you insight about those people, and genuinely say and listen and genuinely say, hey, I want to hear from you. Tell me more about your family. A simple phrase would be like, hey, if I asked about your family, so I'm like, hey, Kylie, tell me about your family. And you just list, I got a mom, I got a sister, got a dad, but I'm like, well, tell me more. If I say that simple phrase and I'm silent, you eventually going to talk.
Fair enough. Okay. Well,
see what I just did there? I was silent.
That's why I was like, oh, now am I supposed to tell you about my family? I'm seeing counseling. No, I'm just kidding. But how did this lead from student ministry to being a Connect pastor?
Well, I would say this. So over the past few or more years, the Lord began working in my heart about my time in student ministry coming to an end. Not that I don't love students, still love hanging out with them. I feel like, still get some of their humor and all that stuff. Love the I'm going to make up a word, the activeness of students, how active they are.
Wait, is that not a word?
Activeness? I don't know. English major Maddie? Activeness? Is that a word?
Ding, ding, ding.
Calling in a friend? Activeness? I don't know. Sounded like a word. So
Maddie said it's a word.
Okay. Well, people are going to be Googling now activeness based off of what?
It's a word by the Sugar Creek dictionary.
So there you go. So I love students, but I'm approaching 40 in November. I ain't got no shame in saying that on podcast. I'm approaching 40, and I'm going, man, my time in student ministry has a shelf life. I just don't recover like I used to. As energetic as I am, man, if I had them dudes again to say, bro, we're going on a 10-mile run because of you're acting like a bunch of jokers, man, I know when I get home from that weekend, I would be recovering 2 days later. So it's just one of those things. You start listening to your body, start listening to the signs, and start looking. But also, I feel like the Lord has gifted me in other areas too, to where over the years, as I look at the pattern of what I enjoy the most, the passions, and even the part of ministry of caring for people, the shepherding aspect, and even just being able to connect people, whether it's my job, then when I worked at seminary, even in secular jobs, it's connecting people, networking, and just saying, hey, I know this person and I know you, and I think it'd be good for y'all to know each other. Or, hey, I've got information that would be beneficial to you. Let me give that to you. Or, hey, I've got a resource that would really help you with this crisis you're going through. So it's things like that that really start going like, man, Connections pastor seems like an ideal fit. And so praying through it, when I received the job description for it, it was one of those in the words of my wife, as we were praying over coming back and praying through that, she said, all the things that I knew what your giftings were and the things that the Lord is using you, she's like, when I read this job description, she's like, I can never put into words what it was, but when I read this job description, this was such a great fit. So that's how I rolled into that.
Wow. So how have you been able to use those giftings within this job?
Well, since I've only been here, maybe 2.5 months
Yeah.
rolling. As of right now, just trying to build up one, the volunteer base,
Mm-hmm.
two, empower and equip people
Mm-hmm.
to say, hey, we've got to get out and make people feel like they are at home at church.
Mm-hmm.
And so, trying to just meet with leaders, encourage them, see where they're at, hear from them what's been done so far. Trying to actually establish the first time guest ministry experience, and work on that to make it better. Evaluating things on campus, seeing, hey, what can we do better? But also, too, like a good example, this past Sunday, we had a student come up and want to talk about baptism, and Mason and I got to partner together and at the Next Step Center and got to talk through baptism. And so Mason was there and I was there. So I was able to help assist and resource him and then be with her family.
Mm-hmm.
And so the student, said, hey, I'm ready for baptism, and talk through her faith and, her salvation story. And so it was great. So being able to help assist Toby and Mason and, Ryan and all the other staff, Pastor Ender, just all those guys and ladies.
Wow, that's incredible. How would you say that being able to connect with people, whether it's their first time there or whether it's a leader that's going to be leading a connect group or maybe even someone on staff that you work with now, is able to help you build those genuine and authentic relationships with one another?
So just want to make sure I'm understanding you. You're saying how can they help me build those genuine, or how can I help them?
How can you help them?
Well, I would say this, so if I have a conversation with someone who comes into the door for the first time and I'm listening, actively listening to them, and they mention things, right? And if I know the congregation members, I know the people at the campus, and I go, oh man, this person would be a good person to connect to.
Mm-hmm.
Or even the other ministers at the campus, if they have kids and I'm talking to them and I'm making them feel like, hey, this is a great place to be. And then I'm hyping up those other people, like, man, you won't believe our student ministry. You won't believe our kids ministry. Incredible places. You're going to learn about God. You're going to have such a great foundation there. You're going to be equipped, telling parents, hey, Toby White's got great resources to help you, and she wants to partner with you as you're the primary disciple maker. And so, through those conversations, you find those links and find out things that they're looking for. So if a parent says, man, we're really struggling with, trying to disciple our kids, and we just don't know what to do, and we just pray over dinner. Well, hey, let me connect you to Toby. She's got some great resources of how you can help disciple your kid. Maybe there's a pamphlet, maybe there's something.
Yeah. Do you ever find it hard to connect with them, whether it's based on age difference or maybe a cultural difference?
So I'm gonna be real honest with you. Maybe this is the way the Lord's designed me. I don't know. I honestly don't care about age or culture. I don't care about if I'm cool enough, if I'm young enough, old enough, whatever. If I'm gonna put myself out there and I'm gonna make myself look foolish.
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe that's why the Lord has me in this role, because at Sugar Creek we are a very multi-ethnic, multi-generational church, and that's what I love about Sugar Creek. It's incredible. And so for me, I'm going, you know what, language barrier, no big deal. I'm gonna hop on in. We still gonna try to communicate. I think the Lord has allowed my background in missions to play a part into that, to where being overseas, doing things, I'm not saying I'm able to understand every single language.
Yep.
I can't even speak another language. I mean, you should see me on Sundays because we have a huge Spanish population at Richmond Rosenberg. Dude, I'm giving it my greatest try to understand and to speak Spanish. And those people are so gracious, and they are just laughing probably at me. But, every Sunday morning when Spanish is there, I'm like, buenos dias, I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm saying gracias. It's all basic Spanish, but I'm trying to learn it. I'm asking on Father's Day. I asked, how do you say Happy Father's Day in Spanish? No.
But you're willing to learn.
There's
and
a willingness. So I'm willing to adapt. But even I think my background of working at traditional Baptist churches and other stuff, working with senior adults, but even my student pastor growing up challenged me with that of, hey, you feel called to ministry, just don't settle for one specific area of ministry. Get involved in all areas and see what the Lord specifically wants you to do.
That's good.
And so, like, I mean, I literally work with kids, students, college students, adults, and even younger. And my dad was like over the Sunday school board at our church, and so like I was around all ages. So I was in the presence of that, so you know how to conduct yourself.
Right.
You know, like I'm not gonna sit there and be dapping up a senior adult like, yo, what's up? Like that's not happening.
Very demure.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You just approach, eye contact, firm handshake, you're looking, you're calling Mr. and Mrs., you know?
How would you encourage listeners to kind of get into that mentality of, even if you're not as gifted in being okay with who you are, so to speak, or shepherding those conversations, how would you encourage them to go out of their way and build those relationships?
First of all, I would say this. You ain't going to do it on your own if you're an introvert. All right, extroverted people, it's a little bit easier, but they still don't need to do it on their own,
Right.
okay? Like for me, I'm naturally extroverted, probably overly extroverted. So, but I can't just operate out of my own self. So I would encourage the first thing you need to do is obviously seek the Lord and say, go to him in prayer and say, God, I need you to show me today and give me the eyes and the ears to see and hear people that I need to interact with. And so that's one tangible step. Because if we're real honest, I've been around students long enough. Students are awkward. Let's just call it like it is. They're awkward because especially they're like, I don't know how to talk to that person. I'm going to just stick with my group of people that I know. And so, man, and that's what I love about the lab leadership, right? You know, if you ain't in lab leadership, students, that's your practical point number 2. Jump in that junk. Hey, shameless plug. I don't care. Jump in because they're going to teach you practical steps on how to get out of your comfort zone. That's my TED Talk. Thanks. All right. But all that being said, I would say this is that you have got to, like I said, pray, seek, but then go out and say, hey, I'm going to challenge myself today and go talk to somebody. Just make it a goal. One person today on Sunday, I'm going to go talk to somebody, someone that's different to me, someone that doesn't like the same things. And you won't know that. But I would say this too. Have your friends hold you accountable. Accountability is a big deal because if you want to grow in an area, you got to have accountability, right?
Facts.
And so it's a little bit easier for me to just go out and do it. If you're an introverted friend, here's probably another practical tip. Find yourself an extroverted friend. They're going to push you to the limits. And so it's funny, as an extroverted person, the Lord tends to put introverted people in my life. And so I'm like, either I'm going to make you an extrovert or you're going to calm me down a little bit, right? And so, but those are some practical things.
Wow.
Pray it up, make a goal, join lab leadership, right? Because it's going to stretch you. And then obviously just go find yourself the opposite of what you are. Extroverted, introverted.
That's so good. Well, is there a piece of scripture that specifically speaks out to you when it comes to connecting with others?
So there's a lot of scripture that comes to my mind when it comes to connecting with others. Like one of them is this. I think about this because when you connect with people, ultimately at the end of the day, the connection has to have a purpose, right? And so I'm building this back up just so I can get to this verse. But that purpose is to serve something, right? And so like, why am I connecting you to other young adults, right?
Right.
You know, and so in my mind, I always think about this. As a role as a connect pastor, I think about when it comes to connections, it's not my job to be the fixer. It's not my job to be the guy who knows everybody. And, oh, it's not my job to even have all the answers. But it's my job to serve people. And so I think about when it says that Jesus came to serve and not be served. So many times when it comes to connections, we tend to think about what's in it for me.
Wow.
If I connect these two people, well, man, they're going to sit there and I'm going to build my network and it's going to be a bigger network for me. And like, then they're going to remember me and they're going to give me opportunities. Well, Jesus didn't think of that mindset. Jesus thought of, how can I serve others? And so that's one way I think about when I think about connections is my role as a connections pastor or connect pastor is to serve others. I'm here to make sure this person has the best experience. This person's connected to God. This person knows areas to serve in. And so it's selfish of me to sit there and think, what can I get out of this? And so Now, if the Lord chooses to bless you with opportunities out of that, amen. But that should never be the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Your goal should be to serve others, say, hey, I want you to have an authentic relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to grow and become more like Jesus. And here's ways you can do that. And here's people who can help you do that. So I think, honestly, at the end of the day, you think about the Great Commission. I love Matthew 28,
Yep.
and so it says, go therefore and make disciples, right? You obviously going to be connecting people when you're making disciples.
For sure.
I always say this, the best way to make disciples is by getting shoulder to shoulder with people. And so how can you have conversations, share the gospel with people? How can you baptize them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit? And how can you teach them to obey all the commands that Jesus has given us if you're not rubbing shoulders, right? So in order for me to connect in my job, I'm always reminded. And the Lord used Matthew 28, 16 through 20 as my calling into ministry. And he's always resurfaced it, as I'm going, right? It's not just the go, it's as I'm going. Marketplace, as I'm going in schools, as I'm going in church, wherever I'm at, living life, I'm rubbing shoulders with people, I'm connecting.
How would you encourage the person listening today to get plugged into their community at church or maybe at school, because maybe they're the one that is the introvert that doesn't want to go out of their way to make those connections? How would you encourage them to get plugged in?
Man, you're throwing all kind of fastballs down the lane. Okay, that's good.
I did play softball.
I know, this is good. So I would say this. If you were an introvert, and I'm only talking to you guys right now, encourage you to I would say this. Write out on a piece of paper one person that is going to push you. And I would say this, even though you're introverted is not these hermits, right? I don't want to paint this picture that these people hiding under a rock. They got friends.
Me and Maddie are both introverts.
Introverts have friends. So, but we also know that introverts confide in people. They don't have to have the mass crowds. So go to that, write that person's name down, and genuinely ask them, will you push me, or will you even be the catalyst for me? And say an introvert, they're not comfortable starting the conversation. Well, go to that person in confidence and say, hey, I need you when we're around people to start the conversation, but then include me where it forces me to talk. It forces me. So I don't want to, and this is how extroverts, I think, in my mind work, right? Extroverts say, I want the spotlight on me. Introverts don't want the spotlight on them. So introverts have the extrovert put the spotlight on you. So in order to get in community, you've got to put yourself out there, right? You can't stay in the shadows the whole time.
Right.
I think one of the greatest stories that I ever had, and this was in a community, in a small group at one of my churches, our worship pastor's wife was super introverted. I'm super extroverted. There was a group of 8 couples in there, mixtures of introverts and extroverts. And Andrew Vaughn, she said this, Mike, sometimes you were so high energy and you were so extroverted. She's like, it's in your face. And she said, oh my gosh, it can be a lot. But then she followed up and she said, but I need that. And so it created for this genuine moment of community among everybody, because it started this conversation of, Andra, just as much as you need me to push you, I told her, I said, I need you to calm me down. I need you that insight that introverts bring, that introspection, they're in their head, they're thinking, they're doing stuff, I need them, just as much as they need me. And so I think the Lord knew that when he was bringing together humanity. And
iron sharpens iron.
Exactly. And so, my wife, she's on a borderline extrovert, introvert, but she's got no qualms of crawling up in the bed and reading a book and being left alone.
Yeah.
But she can turn it on if she needs to. But I think about that moment for us, it built such strong community for us, because I would put the spotlight on whatever introvert was in that group, and then the introverts would come out of their shell. But then the introverts would raise some intriguing questions that would get those extroverts to be like, oh, let me contemplate that.
Yeah.
And so.
That's good. Well, I appreciate your crossing guard doing overtime today because that was a really good conversation. But before we kind of wrap things up, I want to ask you one last question that we ask everyone on the podcast. And that's, what's your biggest yay God moment? You know, Pastor Mark, he loves to say yay God.
Dude, I'm even rocking a yay God
Yes,
bracelet.
yay God.
Let's go, yay God. Biggest yay God moment. I'm gonna just say this, I'll just put it out there. For me, a yay God moment is I'm no longer my son's student pastor. I was at the last church. He's 7th grade now. Last year he was 6th grade. Well, I just went on a middle school retreat with him, and the whole time he was like, "Oh, Dad, why you coming? Oh my gosh!" Right?
Right.
What in the world? My daughter, this was with their school, and so my daughter was like, "Yeah, Dad's coming. It's great," But he's at that phase of like,
Yep.
man, I don't want.
It's funny. We were talking about you earlier and saying like, oh, we wish that Pastor Mike could do like all of these speaking and stuff for like middle schoolers. And then we were like, well, but Hudson wouldn't like that so much.
So like if it's in other campuses, maybe, like Pastor Mason's already got me lined up, and he's cool. But going back to that yay God moment, it's the day of the retreat we're leaving. And he's like, oh, I still can't believe. And I just was like, as a parent in my head, I was like, God, I can't say anything. I can't do anything right now to change this cat's mind.
Yeah.
But I said, Lord, like, I know you want me to be here. Like, you've already called me because I was preaching at it. But I genuinely was like, okay. Well, next thing you know, homeboy comes up to me. And he's like, Dad, I was talking to my friends. And like, man, I'm just really pumped because you're going to be awesome on the basketball court. And I'm going to need you on my team. Oh, by the way, can you be my Connect group leader? Or can you be my 7th grade chaperone? Are you the 7th grade chaperone? I don't know. And I was like, I don't know if I'm at. I knew what I was. I was a chaperone. So, but it was just like, Lord, won't you do it? Like, you changing hearts of middle schoolers day in and day out, even in a split moment. And we had the greatest time. I even did this when I was a student, but I try to give them space.
Yeah.
But like, it was great. And coming off of that trip, he said, Dad, next year you're coming to this thing and you're going to be the 8th grade. I said, Lord, won't you do it? Yay, God.
That is a yay God
So
moment.
you have a little heart change, Move from, oh, Dad's there, I hate it, to, man, Lord, he sees the value of Dad being there.
How would you encourage any of the parents or young adults that are about to be parents one day to just keep pursuing their relationships with their kids so that even though their kids might have a hardened heart towards them, that one day it'll get better?
I will say this is another great straight down the plate fastball, but I would say this, I'm learning in the process. I've got a preteen son and soon to be preteen daughter. Heather and I have said this feels like the years that we're being tested.
Yep.
But I would say this, be persistent, be patient, and be present. Man, I just went straight alliteration.
I was about to say that was good, and you didn't even write it down.
So be persistent, be patient, and then be present. Because there's moments that my son doesn't need me talking. He just needs to know I'm there. There's moments that he needs me to constantly be persistent in the intentional conversations we have about, hey, what'd you learn? What's God doing in your life? Hey, how are you treating your friends? How are you doing? Being persistent with those conversations, but also being patient because my kids' brains are still developing.
Yeah.
Students' brains are developing. And they're going to do some boneheaded things. Their frontal lobe, girls develop faster, but guys' frontal lobes don't develop. They're like, you say this all the time, they're a bunch of knuckle-dragging Neanderthals, and they're like, I'm a caveman, but it's just the reality of it. So be patient. I know at times as adults or parents, we want them to be adults, but they're not adults yet. So we have to be patient in those moments. And that's just me speaking this out loud because I need to hear this over and over again. So I need to be patient with the attitudes, the eye rolls. I need to be patient, and there's times to correct. There is. And absolutely, I'm not saying do not correct. As parents, we are to shepherd and guide our children. But I think it takes persistence, patience, and what's the last one that I say? Presence, being present. See, look, you passed the test.
Yay, I'm going to be a good mom.
So,
One
anyway,
day.
that's all I got.
Well, that's good. Well, like I said, Pastor Mike, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. You've had a lot of wisdom just to share, and your crossing guard did really good doing overtime. I wish I had something to pay him with, but I did not.
Overtime, man. So I went over, so I didn't do good.
No, because the crossing guard goes on duty at 3:00 and it's 3:45.
I know. So he's apparently
He's working hard.
He works
hard for his money.
He does.
Well, anyways, guys, I hope you guys have a really great Thanksgiving and just enjoy your time with your family. Make sure you go and build those connections, just like Pastor Mike said.
Amen.
Well, we'll see you guys next week here at the studio. Bye for now.